So I would love to hear a bit of like your story and maybe what you would share with someone who is going through that.
Yes. I'm so glad you brought it up because I think that adds like, isn't it interesting? Like the Lord's like stew, he like pours in these different ingredients. And you're like, no, not that.
Not that.
And now looking back, it's like that was probably one of the most important ingredients to this next chapter of life and sequel. So, so in the last 5-ish years, my sister, she started getting really sick. So she had, my family it's consumed with a lot of nurses. So some of my family members were noticing like she had jaundice in her eyes and like she just wasn't digesting things very well. And she ended up being hospitalized for a whole year with liver and kidney failure. And every single day we were like fighting for her life. They all wanted to just put her in hospice and let her die. But every day would be something different. One day I walked into the hospital room and her eye was just starting to bleed. Like I didn't even know that an eye could bleed. Just very demonic stuff too. Like, jaundice eyes. So it's yellow eyes, bleeding out of her back. So like your liver and your kidneys, like you have to have, your liver is essential for everything in your body. It kind of like detoxifies all of your other ingredients in your body. And so I was dealing with cirrhosis, and then she was on dialysis in her neck. So like she had blood coming out of her neck. And I know this is it's a lot of hard details, so you can turn this down if it's too much. But, it was so challenging we're only a year apart, and she's like my twin. And for her to be experiencing such pain was, it seemed like the worst nightmare in the whole world. And then also at the time, I was engaged, and no longer engaged. It was a broken engagement, but he was also dealing with addiction. And so it was a nightmare every single day, just trying to figure out how to survive and to keep the calling going, and asking the Lord, like, what are you doing? And just being faced that to take one day at a time. And so it was just I think we go through these different seasons where we really can't go through it by ourselves, and like the Lord literally has to pick us up and hold us. So many tears and just like devastation. I was getting my master's at the time, and so I would have to like do homework in the hospital room. And my family, I mentioned earlier that my parents are divorced, and so we all just had to learn to get along because there couldn't be any fighting at all in the room. And one day in particular, probably one of the most prominent ones, is I was down in the cafeteria. We were used to being there. It was at St. Anthony's, and was just working on homework, and my mom came down. It was just me and my mom at that moment. And she was like, Chrysandra, you need to come up and tell your sister goodbye. They have to take her into surgery because she was bleeding in her lungs. And so she was filling up with blood, and by the time I got up there, she was already incubated. And, I hope no one has seen that before, but it's a really challenging scene to see someone that's going to be taken back into surgery and to tell them, like, to pray over. Like, I only had, 10 seconds and what to say. I said, Brittany, I love you with all my heart. You're going to be okay. And it was like God overtook me, and I, took the surgeon, and she, 'cause she looked so sick. It wasn't who she is, and it wasn't who she was. And I took the surgeon. I said, she's just like me. She's just a year younger than me, and this is my sister. And I was like, please save her. Because, he was going to be doing all of this surgery, and they said it was 99.9% chance that she wasn't going to make it. So she went back for surgery, hours and hours, and they gave her over 20 pints of blood. I guess our bodies only hold 8-ish pints, and I think that's for, a man, so less than that for a little, a young lady. And they said that she had passed away on the operating table and we were just praying. Like we asked, like I think social media, some people see it as kind of like a burden, but it's also such a blessing for communicating the gospel and getting people to rally around for prayer. And just like this podcast, how we can surround each other with love and support. And people just started praying. They didn't know what they were praying for, but we just said she went into an operation, and just seeing like, Lord, you'll fight our battles. And just like praying, like weeping on the ground with an empty hospital room because they had taken away the bed already. And hours later, they brought her back, said that she had passed away. And, it was in the coming days that she said to my mom that she met Jesus on the beach. And she was with her dog, Buddy. And if she had a choice, so she could either go to heaven or come back, and that she would have a good life. So she is now, she got married and now has 2 babies, Denver and Maui. And, so that's, it was a whole year of hell. Like it was literally just the worst. And walking step by step by that. So I think that, it could have gone either way. It could have gone, this beautiful scenario of what's now that she's thriving, or she could have passed away. And, on the other side, just with the fiance at the time with addiction, like that story didn't work out. And so I think we have to just weigh these scenarios of like, Lord, like you know how to write our story, and you know so much better than we do. I think we have to continue to say, your will be done, not my will be done. And that's what like my chanting anthem was throughout that. But yeah, for anyone that's going through someone in any of those realms, I just have so much empathy and compassion. And those 2 scenarios are things that I never wish upon anybody, and just want to, but you have someone that can relate to you, and I'm standing with you. And I think the day, like just take one day at a time, that serenity prayer is definitely something that we can cloak ourselves in.
It's good. Thanks for sharing.